In the beginning, God made them two, man and a woman. And he asked that we live together as one, to go out there, to procreate. But then again, we also know that God did not say we should do it by force. He did not say we should do it without maturity. He did not say we should take liberty or one should be stronger than the other. Somehow, today's world, it is completely different. A lot of people are doing it the other way around. What am I talking about? It is rape. Daily, the stories, the news is on the increase. Daily, victims, the numbers are piling. And daily, people have taken their lives. Daily, people are crying. Families are lamenting because of the side effect of rape. Today we'll be zeroing into it once again because we want to keep talking until it stops. Just like NTA has actually started something it calls STAR. It is meant to shout out and shout until we put an end to it, eradicate it completely. As usual, the studio is packed full with people whose voice you'll be hearing for another 1 hour. And let me start with a man amongst us.
Hey.
What's wrong?
My name is Chukuma. I'm a business coach.
Why did you say hi? You're not a rapist. I know that.
No, I didn't say, but of all now, when it's, you should have just started with the women now. By the time they finish introducing themselves, I would have gathered some momentum to introduce myself.
See,
I don't understand, Mr. Chukuma. Every small thing, you are blessed among women. Vanessa.
Divine Mom.
All right, my name is Elizabeth. We'll take a little break now to showcase what happened not long ago in NTA when the STAR launched the Stand Against Rape and Rapists was a launch here in NTA Arena, Area 11. We'll be right back.
Rape is an infringement of fundamental human rights of an individual. For some, it brings shame, stigma, and evokes feeling of trauma. That's how conspiracy of silence grows. Africa's largest TV network, NTA, took a stand with the launch STAR, Stand Against Rape and Rapists, with the theme The Menace of Rape, Cultural, Religious and Judicial Solution. Many attended from far and near, including NTA's top management and staff.
On behalf of the entire management and workforce of the NTA, to the official launch of the Nigerian Television Authority as the vanguard of the onslaught against the deadly pandemic of rape and its insolent, heartless and barbaric perpetrators.
We must help in reducing both physical and psychological trauma, social stigma, and provide safe haven for them where necessary.
The rise of COVID-19 pandemic also increased the incidences of rape in Nigeria, such that the phrase "a pandemic in a pandemic" was born. Research shows that 6 out of 10 children suffer one or more forms of physical and sexual abuse before the age of 18.
The fact that a cultural leader could make a call to rapper to say, "Come to my domain." A father has gone into his daughter of age of 14. Her mother left for a naming ceremony and he defied her.
However, there is a need to educate our children on sexual exploitative acts, thereby increasing and improving methods that foil the perpetrator's plan.
We must let every child know his part of the body and be trained. When we talk about sex education, we think it's all about going deep into what sex is all about. But we must let the children, let every child know his part of the body and mention it as it is and say what happens, whatever happens to that area.
I would like to use this opportunity also to plead to our parents, our imam, pastors and all religious leaders to please allow these issues to go forward. Most times, like from our experience in our research, a matter will be going on very well, which a victim and accused should be prosecuted or even go to jail. but you see intervention from religious leader and communities leader to say that they should stop. I think our people, our cultural leaders back home should please know the impact, the effect on rape on victim, and allow this process to go so that it will serve as a deterrent to perpetrator.
Stand against rape and rapists. With NTA, rape is evil.
Okay, if NTA and a whole lot of other people, agencies, personality could gather for this particular purpose, it means that it is biting hard where it hurts. Somehow, if you have not had an experience personally, and you have not had someone who's had experience personally, you may not understand. But rape is actually very evil. I don't know, I keep asking. Let me start with Vanessa. Is there any way one can go? I was watching a program, medley show, the other week, and the guy who was on set, Fudge, he composed the music, and then halfway in the music, he was saying, why must you do it by force now? Is it not just to do and the girl fall, pa 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 pa, and then you go to a corner? I don't know, but it may have been, a kind of fun, but it simply means there must be an agreement.
Yes.
It's not fun, it's not sweet when there is no agreement. I don't know if you share my thoughts.
There has to be an agreement. You've said it, there's no fun. It's not sweet. It's forceful. I from experience, I'm adult enough, so from experience, I know when there's no lubrication, it's not, and there's that push. I know how it feels. So you can imagine how she's not in the mood for it. She doesn't want it. She doesn't like it. She's saying no, and you're forcing your way on her as the man. It's hurtful. It's painful. It's not interesting. So yes, there has to be an agreement. If not,
I've always heard some people will tell you, what were you looking for in the man's house? What were you looking for by that time of the day? Blah, 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 always directing into the victim, especially if it's a woman. Let me put it to you, Chukuma. I know you're not like that, but you represent the men here, and it's women's show. You're here to speak for your guys, your fellow guys. Is it about what the women are wearing? Is it about where they are at a certain point in time? Share your male thoughts with us.
I will be speaking a personal view. I think it's from the mindset. It's the mindset. Now, I will always take a cue from the Bible. It says, guard your heart diligently, for out of it are the issues of life. If you don't guard your heart so diligently, it happens from the heart. You start from your subconscious mind, and it begins to send a signal. If you don't control the signal it's giving you, you begin to nurture it, it starts growing. Before you know it, it becomes a reality, materializes in you taking an action. So sometimes it's not, when people think that it's about what people wear or where people are, I don't agree with them. That's why sometimes you see someone use a gun, use a machete, use pencil, use acid, and get someone who's wearing a very tightly fitted cloth to undress before it happens. So it's not about what one wears, it's about how the person is thinking with himself. And other times also could be as a result of influences, what the person had taken in.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol, tramadol, the doors and the highnesses. Now someone gets so high that he begins to see everything he does as being cool. Another one could be as a result of kind of friends people keep. Then you might also have it amongst people who are so mature, who do not take any of these doors and everything, have people take advantage of people. That, I think, is a function of how people think in their heart. When such thought keeps coming into your head, if you don't arrest it at the primary stage, you see yourself playing out what that thought had become in reality. And most times you see people who are victims, they come out to apologize and say, I didn't know. Because at that time, they've allowed that thought to overwhelm their actions and they get into regret. So I will advise that at any time you have that signal, begin to arrest it. If you can't arrest it, share it with people. Sometimes when you share some thoughts with people, get someone, you just share it. Boy, see as they feel. the person around you, if you have a good company, would advise you out of it. Before you know it, you speak it out. But when you bottle it within yourself, you see that becoming a reality.
Quickly,
okay.
if it's about what they wear, what is a 3-month-old child wearing?
Diapers.
But he exactly said that it's not because of that.
That's I'm just trying to add
Okay.
to what he has said.
Okay.
If it's because of what they wear, what is a 5-year-old girl wearing? What is a 5-year-old boy wearing? Do you understand? So I agree. It's not about what they wear, and I also agree. It's about the mind, what you conceive out of the abundance of the heart, what you have in your mind. You are cooking it up. You know, even we'll take a cue from the Bible. And what was his name? Ahithophel advised him. He kept lusting over his sister. I also agree with the part he said, the company you keep. He was lusting over his sister. And his friend advised him, for your sake, tell your daddy, the king, to send your sister to bring food. And she came in. What was she wearing? She was covered neatly. She came in and he pounced on her and raped her. So it's not about what they're wearing. It's actually about what you conceive in your mind. So yes, I agree with him on that.
You know, I'll still get back to you on ways of arresting it and arresting it properly. But I know before we started this, we were having our, charts behind camera. You did mention that it seemed to be on the increase now.
Yes.
And even though we had a bit of argument, I say maybe there's more reportage. You thought differently. And I know a lot of people have actually said this COVID, pre-COVID, post-COVID and all that ties something around rape. Maybe you want to share that again with us.
The reason I feel that it's beyond mere reportage is because the world has evolved in good and bad ways. I'm sorry, but I have to express this. At a point, we allowed ourselves to be convinced by the West that all our cultural values are bad. I've always held that that is not true. It's a fallacy. There are good things about our culture, traditions, that we ought to have retained, that we've discarded. By the same token, there are things about Western culture and tradition that I don't like. So on both sides, there are things that could be discarded and things that should be kept. There was a time in, let's say, let me not generalize too much, let's say Nigerian culture, where the female body was not sexualized. You could have maidens, young maidens, just developing young ladies where your breasts are still very firm, your waist is small, wearing just jigida around the waist, moving around, and nobody casts a second glance at them. It doesn't mean anything because everybody is naked. The men just have a loincloth covering the front and back. But you see, the West came and gave us clothes and told us we're savages for exposing our bodies like that. And we adopted this new culture and we covered our bodies properly. Then they now proceeded to sexualize the female form to a point where there's something known as sexy dressing. I've always asked, I said, if dressing does not have a purpose, why do forms of dress have names or appellations? You say you're dressed sexily.
Dressed to kill.
You're dressed to kill, right?
Or you're in corporate attire. You're in traditional attire. When we say somebody is dressed sexily, what do we mean? Let's not try to make women too saintly. I'm a woman. I have heard women brag, I'm going to make this man do this today.
Of course.
And it happens. Now, the only place where I'll give men the blame is men have to learn how to stop being victims themselves. Because a woman can go all out, seduce you, make you fall, and turn around and say you raped her.
Thank you.
As long as it was both of you behind closed doors.
Yes.
God help you with that story.
The society will always...
We have had instances of men being locked up, only to be found years later to be innocent after their lives have been wasted. So let's not completely make women look too innocent. There are times when women go out with a sinister motive. But men have to learn how to stop falling into that trap. Because practically every time I've heard a woman say, I am going to, it happens. When will the men learn how to walk away from such traps? You must learn to walk away from that trap.
Raise alarm, right?
Raise alarm. Even if you cannot raise alarm.
They always feel like...
Vanessa, okay, I could speak as
if I could just conclude
right.
where I'm going with this. So, it's dicey. You spoke about force. Do you know that there are women who feel a man is a wimp if he doesn't force them?
Yes.
Look at the ape. I slept in his house. He couldn't even do anything. Mixed messaging. So the day you are with a woman who is struggling for real, genuinely doesn't want. Well, okay, Angela, I didn't, and the whole thing went around town that I'm gay, and I'm going to show this one that I'm not gay. Now, at the end of the day, it still comes back to the man. Regardless of what the woman's motive is, whether she's genuine, whether she's not being genuine, you need to be able to decipher the message. If she looks as if she's not cooperating, walk away from it. Just walk away. It doesn't matter what story is going to come out later. You are struggling, or what's up? I'm sorry, I don't think, no, I think let's let this go, you know. Walk away from it. Don't go in with the, okay, is it possible? She's just forming. Don't assume anything.
Yes.
Don't assume that no
don't
is
generalize.
Yes.
Because Angela
did
this does not mean Agnes.
Thank you. So do not generalize. If women too should learn to start making their needs clear. For now, our brothers should err on the side of caution. If she is playing hard to get behind closed doors, assume that she doesn't want to be gotten. Leave.
Waka.
That is simple.
I agree.
So let women also learn to stop playing those coy games. So, he has to work extra hard. If he doesn't, if na man, he go force me.
I also hope you know that women are also termed that when we don't do this, we are cheap.
No, not all men.
You understand? Exactly.
That's culturally the mixed feelings is not on one side.
The mixed messaging is there's a reason for it.
Yes.
If a woman cooperates too much, she cheap. Just yesterday, as we just and I just want to give her a bang. She don't lie down open leg.
I like your points of view, and like you said, very good point. There's no need flexing muscle. When you want it, admit to it. When you don't want, say no and let your no be your no. But the case that worries me is when these things are happening to either the minors or the very elderly.
Yeah.
Or maybe someone who is not even your friend. I didn't come to look for you. You know, probably I came to visit your sister who is my classmate. And you have this amorous thought for me, and then because of that, you get to drug my a drink, and then I slip off, and then you get to do what you do. It's bad, and at that point, you will still find the parents asking you, the girl,
what did you go there to do?
What did you go there to do? You will still find the society asking you, did you put your buttocks in your mother's house when it happened?
They give you an adage that a stream would not swallow someone that you didn't see.
Did not go there.
Why these things are a concern to me is sometimes in the course of a struggle, like she said, we heard what happened in Edo State. We also heard what happened in Benin.
What
Lives
happened?
were in Edo State and Ibadan. The cause of rape, they kill people. You know,
what's her name?
The
girl that was killed.
So if it gets to a point where someone gets killed, and the worst part, one of them was actually in a church, so you won't say she was.
And the other one was behind her house.
You know, so these things happen. I would want to find out. You know, I'll still throw you back to you, Chikuma. You're the man. You're not a rapist. I keep saying that to the one. He's not a rapist. But what goes on at the back of the mind of the man when he's doing this? Is it a physiological problem? Is it a psychological problem? What is the problem?
I think it's at that point in time, the quest for satisfaction is what is in his head.
5 minutes is done.
You see where she drew her analysis from the Bible. The guy's urge was what pushed his energy. And within that period, as soon as that urge got expired,
he hit the girl.
He realized himself.
Immediately.
And you see that most rape cases, it's always the same way. When that urge shoots so high, if you don't control that urge, you begin to look out for who you would use to quench that urge. And as soon as that urge clears off the person's eye, it looks like some veils are falling off his eyes. And he's looking so sober. He's looking like, why did I do this? So that's why I mentioned earlier that one needs to check his urge. Guard yourself around with friends that would help you. In cases where people who have not determined to do it, because there are people who wake up in the morning, they make it a case that they must do, and those ones have no conscience. There are people, when they do it with an aged woman in the farm, they still go out and do it with another person. It has become a stock in trade, just like a thief who steals at random. That one has sold his conscience. Those are not the ones I'm talking about. But the ones I'm talking about are those who fall into it and they realize immediately that actually it was a mistake and they want to get back and get themselves. So one of the ways they could heal themselves is seek for a psychologist. Look out for people you could speak to. Don't go to people that may condemn you, because sometimes you open up to people and in trying to speak to you, they condemn you and you begin to bottle yourself. When even you have such urge, you begin to bottle it in your mind. You won't come and speak out. Seek for people that would always speak to you and encourage you on how to move out of it.
Train up a child the way you should go. And recently, in terms of sex, we have actually taken it to the domain of education, to impute in the curriculum. And I'm happy I have a teacher seated here with me. How is this sex education working in school? Because at a point, for me, I actually said, no, we're not going to do this. We expose children. I don't know how it's packaged. I don't know, because I believe that if we catch them young with this attitude, with these dirty skills, we should be able to stop raping happening tomorrow.
It's packaged well. And by well, I mean we call the names by what they are. Okay. It's a vagina, it's a penis.
Okay, there's no, is your pee-pee.
No. Now, we've made that mistake for too long. In the past, we've made that mistake for too long. We've gotten it all wrong. So we're doing better now by calling it what it is, and saying the functions and mentioning the parts. Now, this is what this does, and if you do this like this, this is what the result is going to be. We're not telling you do not allow somebody to not see your panties. No. We're not telling you that. We're telling you exactly what it is. And we're even going to step further to even educate on genotype. We've gone that far to also let you know more things like rhesus factor, to let you know that it is not your duty as a lady to give birth to a male child. It's actually the function of the XY chromosome, which belongs to the man. You just carry the X. So we've basically, you give them to us most of the day. And when they come to us, we need to inculcate this knowledge into them. And we have gone that far. Now, with this on the rise, the topic of today, the rape case on the rise, I teach in an all-boys school. I have the opportunity to teach them basic science at junior level and chemistry at senior level. So when we come to the junior level where this is inculcated, I try, on my own part, once we find a way to, like, let's say 5 minutes in, or let's say like 2 to 3, put something there to make them understand that, look, if you do this, this is the result. You shouldn't do this. Yes, at a certain age, which you are as a teenager, you're going to feel those hormones, raging hormones, you want to experiment, but you can't stop them. That's the truth. So what do? You make them understand that there's something called condom, and then there's something called consent. Now, if she has given you consent, use a condom. If she has not given you consent, walk away. Just walk away, because anything you do outside that is force. So yes, in the education system, it's been inculcated into the curriculum, and we are still building the curriculum, because she said something about we being westernized. What we had from the beginning is wrong. we're told that ours was wrong, which is not supposed to be so. So we're trying to balance it up with what we find every day around us. Yes. So to answer your question, yes, they are being taught, and we are not sugarcoating anything. We're saying it as it is.
You know,
sorry, I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
By not sugarcoating it, don't you think it could also trigger up some kind of inquisition in the child's life? Let me explore, because I've had this, and they want to start thinking and imagining what to do because they have been taught about it, which was the reason then it was looked like we have to hide it from them.
Hiding it from us was actually what pushed us to want to know what it is. And then hiding it from us made us shy away from talking to the adults about it. I've had my students walk up to me, like I said, it's a boys' school, walk up to me and ask me the most absurd questions.
which is?
And okay, so a student walked up to me and was like, his girlfriend asked him to buy her a phone.
How old is this boy?
It's a boy in SS2.
That would make him approximately 15, 16.
Yes. His girlfriend asked for a phone.
On social media. They're on social media.
I know.
And what would he do? Or what should he do? You know, we talk about a whole lot of things, and I looked at him and I was like, so what do you want to do? She's threatening that the other boy promised her a phone, so if he doesn't get it, she will go for the phone. I said, so what do you want to do? I don't want to lose her.
So his value is the same value as iPhone. He does not seem to understand that.
So now it's now my duty to now let him understand, you know. So back to your question, whether we tell them or we don't tell them, I will say you because you're the parent, you have already put us in a tight spot. You buy them smartphones, you give them data. This thing is everywhere.
That you've really moved down to, you've really moved down to what I want to speak that. It's more, we have also a lot to do as parents. What we had growing up was that our parents never allowed us to have any of this knowledge. So anywhere we saw opportunity, we wanted to explore. Me, I was timid till I entered university. And I became very crazy because I felt like I saw freedom. Some other children these days, they are not even going to the university. Internet shows them everything they want. It comes to us telling people the consequences that come with every action. When we make people realize the consequences of their action, it will always help to take some steps people want to take. If you let a child know, if I hear any story about you raping a woman, if they come here, I'll take you to the prison. I will leave you and abandon you. In my own case, that kind of thing could make me to be afraid. I will respect myself. I don't know in other people's cases. So if we begin to let our children know, let them know that there are consequences that come with their actions, and let them know also when such things come up and when they are not guilty as they have been accused, they should come up to speak to us and let us know the truth. You understand? Because what Devon said is true. You could get girls that would lure a guy into doing something that the guy didn't plan to do. But because the guy is now eyeing her girlfriend, she's now saying, okay, because you have left me, you are going to you're eyeing my girlfriend, I will destroy your image. And she could allege something like that happen, which never happened. So you get to let the kids know to be able to come to you and speak to you, and not to be quick to condemn them.
And that's the part, sorry please, that's the part we come in. Because like I said, I've had cases where a child will not speak at home, but will come to school and will speak. Now, we first of all need to create an enabling environment. Because for them to open up, encourage it. The way we were brought up is different. Like you rightly said, we were covered, we were closed, we were not allowed to. I remember in Kebeswa magazine, you have to hide to hint, you have to hide, you have to hide to read it. But now, this thing, it's everywhere.
Your own is Kebeswa magazine. My own was James Hadley Chase.
No, but James Hadley Chase didn't
It was the
contain
cover.
any...
It was the cover. The cover of
Okay,
James
those
Hadley
pretty
Chase.
girls.
Yes.
So if they catch you
Yes.
carrying the book, they think it's what is on the
Yes.
cover.
Okay. Let me bust everybody right now. My mom used to buy me a Kebe Super magazine.
Are you
Oh yeah.
How? I remember the escorting
You
in
know,
my hand.
she found it
Reading
funny.
one.
She found it was funny. The bad one, I think the one you were trying to talk about was Dauda the sexy guy. Or
Yes.
Not Ikebe Super.
Yeah.
My mother liked Pajimo and Papa Alinko. or
Papa
something.
Jasco.
So she didn't used to buy it for me. She'd buy it for herself, read and laugh her eyes out. Then of course I'd get hold of it. But nobody ever spanked me or scolded me for reading it. So, but I get where we're coming from. Now, with regard to if they get told this thing in school, it might push them into exploring, which we've all agreed that is not the case. I'll just chip in. You see, parents underestimate, even before you get to the smartphones and the data and everything, parents underestimate what TV is doing.
Thank you.
There are channels there that are soft porn, straight.
Yes.
And you see very innocuous names of program. You know, there's one called Jersey Shore, Geordie Shore, anything Shore. That's SHOR.
Yes.
From the language to the content, they just fall short of showing you people's anatomy.
Oh, there are some too there that have people's anatomy. The
But
TLCs.
it's extremely graphic. It's soft porn, essentially. The parents don't know, because the title of the program doesn't tell you anything about it.
The cartoons
Even the cartoons nowadays,
They are
there are
all
adult
embedded.
cartoons, you know.
They are
There's
worse.
yes, and then there's a lot of you know, some kind of sexual messaging in there that many of us don't ordinarily culturally accept, you know, and things like that. And there is no timing for this content. So whereas before, when NTA was ruling the airwaves with regard to television broadcasting,
4 to 11.
the more adult content movies came up after the
9
network
o'clock.
news,
Network news, yes.
when it is assumed that if you're a good parent, you've sent your kids to bed.
Yes.
There's nothing like that. There's no watershed now. You're probably at work. Your child is sitting there, you know, imbibing really graphic language and content and everything. So that by the time you come and you're telling them, okay, this is a penis, that's a vagina, they are trying to ask you, wait, what is bondage?
Please, what is bondage?
Go and check.
Oh,
You understand? They are trying to ask you, what is S&M? They've passed that level. So whatever the teacher is telling them in class,
It's just
for those who have
camera.
access to smartphones, computers,
television.
cable TV and
Which house
everything,
doesn't?
by the time the teacher is in class, she's boring themselves. They've passed that stage. They will just entertain you because you're
Now,
supposed to be standing
This
there.
now goes back
Anyway.
to where I said that we move, we evolve with them. Because if I go back to school now, I'm not going to be talking about, they've already picked a word called entanglement. So we will now begin to talk about entanglement. I will not go there and pretend I don't know what entanglement is.
so you're confusing me again. I've heard bondage.
No,
I'm hearing
didn't you hear about the scandal with Will Smith and his wife,
It didn't.
Jada Pinkett? Well, she said that
She
the
was
thing she had with the young boy
August,
who was her
with
son's friend,
The August boy was an entanglement.
that she
I
essentially
was
she
entangled
described
with
an
August.
extramarital affair as an entanglement.
When we say corruption, is not just money. You and I had a conversation around it the other time, and we will be going to take a little breather to find out the level of the decadence corruption has brought. And corruption is not just money. Even as you watch, I need you to take cognizance of that fact.
Can you imagine? I put my best into this maths exam, and I still didn't pass. How about you?
This is really getting out of hand.
I'm sure the geek made it as usual.
Nope.
That's a lie.
Well, technically, I didn't fail. The lecturer failed me.
How do you mean?
Well, He failed me because I wouldn't play ball.
Play ball?
Seriously.
What?
Guy.
No. What?
Don't tell me.
What are you two talking about?
The C word.
Oh, calculus.
Duh. No, corruption.
Are you serious?
What do you think corruption is?
Powerful people lining up their own pockets with public money?
I hear you, but it's actually small-scale bribery that most directly affects the everyday life of Nigerians.
Really?
Yes. Because corrupt public officials decide who has to pay a fine, who gets access to public services, and as we know, who gets admitted to school or to pass an exam. Now, wow. And the recurring request for bribes by those corrupt officials has a toxic effect on the public administration. How do you know all this? I read it in here. The National Bureau of Statistics of Nigeria, with support from the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, UKAID and the EU, carried out 2 big corruption surveys in Nigeria in 2016 and 2019. And they were about the actual experience of Nigerians, not just opinions and perceptions.
But how many people really come into contact with public officials?
In 2019, almost 2/3 did. At least once.
That is quite a lot.
Well, it's a significant increase since 2016, when just over half did.
That's a good sign, isn't it? I mean, it shows that an increasing number of Nigerians have access to vital public services.
Yes, but almost 1 in 3 of them paid a bribe, or were asked to pay a bribe by a public official. But the good news is that this is a slight decrease since 2016. Though the average number of bribes paid remained the same, at around 6. Okay, this means that Nigerians paid a total of 117 million bribes in 2019. That's an average of more than 1 bribe paid by every single adult Nigerian.
What?
And more than 9 in 10 of those bribes were paid in cash.
Huh. How much are we talking about?
It says here that the average cash bribe paid was 5,754 naira, which means a total of roughly 675 billion naira was paid in bribes in 2019. That's almost as much as the combined 2019 federal budget for health and education.
So which public officials are paid the most bribes?
It says here police officers, public utility officers, tax officers, teachers, health workers, Federal Road Safety Corps, and vehicle inspection officers.
Wait. So those entrusted with delivering essential services are the public officials who receive the most bribes?
That's right.
And what about the people who pay bribes to those public officials?
Nigerian men are more likely than Nigerian women to pay bribes to public officials, especially men living in urban areas.
Wow! What about in the rural areas?
Men in urban areas are almost twice as likely to pay bribes as women living in rural areas of Nigeria.
Men of all ages?
Young Nigerian men aged between 25 and 34 are those most likely to pay bribes to public officials.
Rich and poor?
The wealthiest households in Nigeria are more than twice as likely to pay bribes as the poorest ones.
Wow. So why exactly do people pay bribes?
Gaining or maintaining access to public utility services, avoiding the payment of a fine, obtaining an administrative license or permit, and getting speedy access to medical treatment. Oh, and to pass an exam, of course. And some public officials even pay bribes to get their job in the first place. Almost half of all successful applicants for public sector positions admitted that they had resorted to bribery or nepotism or both to secure their job.
You are kidding me.
No wonder they may be ready to engage in corruption in the workplace.
Maybe they think they can get away with it. Just 1 in 5 Nigerians confronted with a bribe request actually refuses to pay it. And less than 1 in 25 bribe payers report the incident.
Why is that?
Well, the low reporting rate seems to be mainly linked to complicated reporting procedures, limited access to anti-corruption bodies, and the poor response of the public sector to reports of bribery.
So, what happens to those who do report it?
They are either discouraged from pursuing it, there's an attempt to resolve the issue informally, or they simply never learn about any follow-up action. In some cases, they even suffer negative consequences.
Just for being a good citizen.
So what can be done to fight administrative corruption in Nigeria?
Nigerians need to see how the government's anti-corruption agenda can reduce bribery requests when they interact with the public sector.
Wait, shouldn't the focus be on the public officials responsible for the majority of the bribes collected?
Exactly. And since the surveys show that better educated people are more likely to refuse to pay a bribe than people with little or no formal education, it makes sense to increase investment in education, especially in programs aimed at improving ethics and values.
Among young people?
The surveys say an increasing number of young Nigerians find corruption to be unacceptable. So, yes, it makes sense to focus those programs on young people.
What about making the reporting of corruption less complicated and safer?
Good idea. That requires clear guidelines and procedures for handling corruption complaints throughout the public sector.
And what about disciplining officials who discourage citizens from reporting bribery?
That needs to be enforced. And citizens need to be made aware of the outcome of their complaints so that they're encouraged to report bribery again in future.
If most bribes are paid in cash, surely the development of web and smartphone apps would make interactions between citizens and officials less susceptible to bribery.
And make them more efficient.
True.
So what do the surveys say about issues specifically related to women?
Oh, okay. Nigerian women are less likely than men to pay bribes to public officials. And female officials may be less likely to take bribes than male officials. So, further research is needed to help improve understanding of how a gendered approach to public officials can help women's empowerment and reduce corruption.
I beg, how can I get a hold of a copy of that report?
You can find it online at www.unodc.org/Nigeria.
One last question.
Sure.
If you're so clever, why didn't you show the report to the lecturer before you did the exam?
It's still conversations, and we're still talking rape. And I don't know. I know they are, linked hand in hand, corruption, rape, and all that. A lot of times it's been blamed. I don't want to still be on the parents on the home bit. Are there things a lady can do? Let me tie it down to the ladies. Maybe subsequently we can talk more on the men. Are there things a lady can do? Because I've heard a man, say a son of a very prominent Nigerian say that he's going to rape somebody's mom just as an act of punitive measure, for whatever differences or quarrel they had.
Tribal.
Is there anything a girl can do to the point that you feel, okay, be it a small girl, some very elderly people have these virgin little girls just to punish their parents? Is rape justified in any form?
No.
Okay. Now, moving on in that, since it's not justified in any form, we have had people talk about castration, death sentence, and all that. I don't know what you feel. How do we begin to correct this? I know that for every offense, there should be a punishment. How do we begin to correct?
Give the deserving punishment.
What is a deserving punishment?
That's very difficult for me to say, because what might be deserving for me might not be deserving for you, and mine might seem to be harsh, others might seem to be light. I saw a video, I don't know how truthful it is, and the person said it was a treatment given to someone who raped a minor in one of the Arab countries. And if you ask me, I think that could be the best.
What happened?
They just got the military and brought the guy in the public.
And killed him. Yeah. That's for pedophilia, I guess.
Yes.
For me, you see, like we were saying that there's so many shady areas to this thing here. We've all agreed that rape, it starts in the mind of the rapist. The act starts in the mind of the rapist. You are asking about the punishment, and he has said that it's relative. I would say that all forms of rape damage at least the mind. So a woman who is a call girl, for instance, who is used to having sex with 4 or 5 partners a night, might not be as physically damaged as a young girl who is just 6 or 7 years old. So for me, I would say the extent of damage to the victim should determine the level of punishment meted out on the perpetrator. Although, like I said, in every instance, the mind at least is damaged. But there are instances where girls have been defiled to a point where they will never have children again. Because the entire reproductive system is destroyed. That is, you've destroyed the body, you've destroyed the future, you've destroyed the mind. That might be quite different from the rape a sexually mature woman might have. A woman who has maybe had her own children and so on. You've damaged her mind, but you've not succeeded in like
stopping her from having children.
You understand? So I'm not trying to say one rape is better than the next, but I'm just saying that the level of damage inflicted on the victim, for me, should be the determining factor for how much punishment should be meted onto the perpetrator.
The whole essence is to ensure that this evil vibe in the society is completely wiped off. I still want to go back to the days when I moved around with just my jigida and a little bit of cloth around the chest, and I was not scared of anybody, even if I walked along the track road to the stream. So I hope we'll get to that level. But then, speaking of that, I would like parents to be able to point out to their children, you know, when you see danger, you should be able to identify it at least to a certain level. You don't expose yourself, you know.
You don't expose yourself to danger.
Yes.
If you can help it.
You know, I am one person. If you see a man who is, parents should be able, like he said, call a spade a spade. You know, be able to talk to their children very well so that they understand when a man's body is beginning to desire them. Don't wait until he turns violent. That's me. If you notice a man is beginning to get sensitive to you, you know, physically, sexually aroused, that means the man is interested in you. And the best thing for you to do is find a way of ensuring that you're not alone with him, and you're not in a place where you can easily be compromised. You know, because when that man, a lot of time rape happened, the man didn't plan it. He probably felt, okay, I'm in love with this person, or I'm infatuated, put it in the right way, because if you love well, you can't hurt. And then you ask her, she says no, but your spirit is already worked up, and a lot of times you don't want to take no for an answer. It becomes an ego thing. And then because you see the environment is conducive, the rape thing happens. And in your mind, I will beg her, she will forgive me. After all, if she says it, the woman is always the one to lose. So based on that, I think young people, ladies, boys inclusive, because boys are also being raped, should be able to recognize when somebody is beginning to look at you as a prey. And you should take a walk instantly. You don't need to be rude. Find a good excuse to go away.
And not just go away. Tell the next adult.
Yes.
That's why we talked about creating an enabling environment. Create that environment where even when the child walks away, the child can come back and tell you that I was around Mr. A and I sensed something off, so I walked away. And then because of that, you now shield with the some parents have gone to confront. So you could confront. If you don't want to confront, you do create that environment where that person knows that I know that you're making advances at my child, so I will take it up with you if anything happens to my child.
I think parents should open up with their children, be friends with your child, so that if anything is going on, they tell you ahead of time.
One thing, creating an enabling environment is another. The other one I was seriously campaigning during the period of the rape, when it was during the COVID period, was self-defense.
I should go and learn taekwondo.
Not you, the children.
I'll break leg.
It's not about that. There are other means. There are other means. There are other means. One of the things I remember very well when we had a shop in Warimpa, when my daughter used to come then, and I told them that at any point in time, I taught them self-defense mechanism. And I even did that to my wife's workers. I told them, those of you who are going late in the night, these are the things you should do for yourselves. I barred them from wearing anything short mini if you're doing night duty. You have to wear a tight jean to be sure. And inside your tight jean, make sure you have about 3 or 4 razor blades. Then inside that your small bag, have a pepper spray. These are the things I taught them, that by the time you put the person in a confused state, run and keep shouting, the person wouldn't be able to come close to you. And some of them took it up and it helps.
If I may come in, while let's say dressing in and of itself does not trigger rape, it can engender,
it can
attract negative attention, even from females.
Of course.
Mature women do not like young girls who come around half-dressed. When I say half-dressed, I'm really going, like some of them really go beyond the pale. You know, you're wearing something flimsy, no bra. It's really short. If you bend over a little bit, everything, even women are going to dislike you. Men won't dislike you, but they're like, whoa, she's all about it, you know. They might not leap on you and rape you, but you're sending a negative message.
Signal, yeah.
Instead of wearing a very short dress, wear a pair of jeans. Then, for God's sake, whatever you do, don't get drunk. Worse things than rape could happen to you.
Yes.
You could be abducted. You could be harmed. You could be harvested for parts. There are worse things in life than rape. So why not make it difficult for that person who is trying to prey on you? Every day you leave the house, live with the consciousness that there are people out there who are intrinsically evil. We don't know whether they are born that way, whether life turns them that way, but know that if you don't do due diligence to yourself, to protect yourself, there's somebody out there who is willing to take advantage of your naivety, your inability to look out for yourself, and so on and so forth.
Right, it's so much of a pity. We can never exhaust the topic on rape, and maybe just in 2 seconds, not minutes. Chukuma, your final thoughts?
I'm going to leverage on what Devan said. Make it difficult. Okay. Protect yourself. Find a way to make it very difficult, and once you hit, try look out for a place where you could find safety.
Right. And Vanessa?
I would add, anywhere you're going, anywhere you are, let somebody know. Let
Very
somebody
important.
know. Pick your calls. You can't pick your calls. Just let somebody know who you're with and where you're going to at whatever time it is.
Absolutely. And I would say that for children, parents need to be extra vigilant, because sometimes the predator is in the house.
It's in the house.
All right, I don't know what else to add because you've all said it all. But the basic thing is, I always say to people, that which you cannot take, please don't give it out. If you would not love yourself or your child or your siblings or anybody you love around you be violated, please don't violate some other person. Be it a girl to a boy or a boy to a girl, it's all the same thing. You kill somebody from the inside. Remember, if you don't give love, if you don't give happiness, you will never get one. We'll see you again around next time. My name again is Elizabeth, and it's in a beautiful house, even though a very sad topic. But we believe that we are talking about it to make a change.